Welcome everyone to the fourth and final class of the August Advisor Ambassador Program. My name is Zach Hewells. I work in the Marketing Communications Department at NAFA Home Office here in Falls Church, Virginia. Today we have Josh O'Gara for you. Josh is from NAFA, Massachusetts, and he has the pleasure of presenting time management and cash flow. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat feature in Zoom. You can also unmute yourself at the end of the presentation and ask Josh directly. And at the end of the presentation, stick to the end because we have an important announcement for all of you regarding our annual conference. But I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Josh. So welcome.
Great. Thank you, Zach, and thank you to those who have joined us here today. I'm really excited to be able to do this presentation regarding time management and cash flow. Zach reached out to me about a month or so ago and asked if I'd be willing to moderate or to present today. So in thinking about what I wanted to discuss, I'm going to focus today less on the cash flow aspect of things and more on the time management side of things. Because I think if you're really focused on doing activities that really provide value for your practice and the clients that you're working with, the cash flow will come. But it's really a matter of figuring out what activities are going to drive that business and where to spend your time and really focus all of your efforts. So for those that have been on different seminars like this in the past, my real goal is to at least provide one piece of information that you can take back to your practice and hopefully utilize to help you grow your practice and provide a better service to your clients. To get started, I figured I'd start out with a quote that I came across. Time is what we want most, but what we use worst. And I think particularly in today's day and age, it's very easy to get caught up in day-to-day tasks, whether it be emails, social media, slingshotting Angry Birds from one side of your computer to the other, whatever it may be. We're constantly bombarded by information, by emails, and it's very easy to get sidetracked. So I think the most essential part of creating a good time management plan is really focusing on those activities that are going to be the most value to you and your clients. So in terms of setting out an agenda, I'll briefly give a quick overview of my story, how I got started in the business, and what led me to where I am today. I run a insurance and employee benefits practice outside of Boston. As Zach had mentioned, I've been a NAFA member now for the past 10 or 12 years. So give a little background on that end of things. And then I really want to talk about setting a baseline. I think setting a baseline is the most important aspect of figuring out where you want to go. We've all been to the mall where you look at the map of all the stores and you have the little red dot that says you are here. And that is one of the most important aspects to figuring out where you want to go in the future, is figuring out what your starting point is. So I want to talk a little bit about setting a baseline. Then I'll share some tips and tricks about things that have worked for me. This is a very individualized business where you figure out along the way what works and implement those practices into your day-to-day lives, and you're going to be able to grow your business to the next level. And then speaking of implementation, how do you implement a specific idea or goal that you want to set for your practice? How do you go about the steps to actually figure out how to do that on a daily basis. So going back to share my story. So as I said, I got started in the business about 12 years ago. I started out as an individual advisor with Northwestern Mutual, working with individuals and clients, very similar to how a lot of people get started in this business, cold calling, networking, all that good stuff. And I really bounced around for 8 or 10 years. I started with Northwestern, went to a brokerage agency, left that brokerage agency, went to work for another company, and I really hadn't figured out what my purpose was, what got me out of bed in the morning. Growing up, my mom was a social worker. My dad actually started out his life as a Catholic priest. So I always tell people that it was in my blood. I really wanted to help people. But that's what everybody says in this business, right? You want to help people, but how do you help people? My mom actually ran her own nonprofit agency. My dad ran his own business as a home inspector in the city of Boston. So I was really able to see the freedom and satisfaction that goes along with running your own business. So in addition to having a deep desire to help people, I also had a very strong entrepreneurial drive. In trying to figure out my place in the business, I was given an opportunity to start an agency within Colonial Life, so focusing on voluntary benefits. And I really found my passion working with employees on a one-on-one basis, figuring out where gaps in their plans may exist, and providing advice that a lot of times these employees may not have met with advisors in the past, or just don't get that same sort of attention and advice that other people get. So I really found my passion working with those individual employees on a one-on-one basis. And over the past couple of years, I've grown my practice outside of just focusing on voluntary benefits to a more holistic employee benefits approach. So I was able to really kind of focus on what I wanted to have my practice look like, where I wanted to focus my attention. And I think that's really important for everybody in this business as well, to really figure out what your why is. I'm sure you've all heard of Simon Sinek. He's got the Find Your Why TED Talk, and if you haven't seen that or listened to that yet, I strongly suggest you do that. But really finding what motivates you, what drives you to do those tough activities like picking up the phone for cold calls or going to those networking events, that sort of thing. Really trying to figure out what motivates you to do that sort of thing. So I think that's essential. There's a lot of talk in the industry now regarding behavioral finance, why people make the financial decisions that they make. I think that sort of mindset also applies to advising as well. Why do advisors do what they do? Why do they make the decisions that they make? And really taking a hard look at what motivates you on a daily basis. If you're doing certain activities just because you're told that's what you need to do, and not really having that core value of why you're doing those activities, it's going to lead to burnout in the long run, because you don't have that internal motivation to keep doing that. So if you reach a certain level of success, and you've been concentrating on certain activities that you don't really have that deep commitment to doing, once you reach that success, a lot of times people kind of put their feet up and don't continue to do those activities. So having that deep commitment and desire to do those activities that you need to do on a daily basis is really important. And be honest with yourself, be honest with your mentors and your managers. Have those honest conversations with your mentors and managers. And in reality, not every manager out there is a great one. So you may have to find somebody else in your office to talk to, or somebody in your personal life who has experience doing this sort of thing. So finding people that you can really connect with and set goals and really drive your practice to the next level. And then most importantly, you want to keep adapting. So you set certain goals and standards that you want to maintain throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. But don't be so rigid and think that you can never change those goals. You review those goals on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then move forward in a more positive direction. This is a great little cartoon that I found, and it's along with a quote from Thomas Edison. Many of life's failures are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they gave up. So again, really having that deep commitment to the goals that you want to achieve, and finding out what activities like these gold miners, why are you digging those mine shafts? Why are you picking up the phone, going to those networking events, asking for the referrals, having that deep commitment to do that activity that's going to allow you to grow your practice and help as many people as possible, but not having those deep beliefs will lead to possibly quitting and giving up before you reach a level of success that may not be that far away. This next slide, I found another TED Talk by a guy named Tim Urban. And again, this gets to time management and doing activities that you know you should be doing, or not doing those activities that you know you should be doing. And the long and short of his presentation is, we all have a rational decision maker in our brain. We all know that there are certain things that we need to do to accomplish the goals that we have for ourselves. Unfortunately, we also have the devil on our shoulder, the instant gratification monkey, that gets in the way. And that instant gratification monkey will distract you and prevent you from taking those steps that you need to take to accomplish your goals, because that short-term satisfaction of doing whatever it may be to distract you and to provide some short-term satisfaction will sidetrack you and not allow you to reach your ultimate goals. And eventually the panic monster sets in, because you get to a point where you actually have to do these tasks to reach your goal. So let's say you're at the third week of the month and you haven't submitted a single application that month. The panic monster is going to set in, and you start trying to get all your activity in that last week of the month, or meeting with as many people as possible that last week of the month to try to get those applications in. So how do we adjust our behavior and focus on that rational decision maker to allow for us to accomplish tasks on a more reasonable basis, and without having the panic monster is key to getting things done. But how do you introduce that panic monster at an earlier stage? And particularly in a business like we're in, that's very entrepreneurial, we have a large amount of control over our schedules and what we do on a daily basis. So it's easy to get sidetracked. And how do we reset our mindset on a daily basis to focus on those tasks that are going to help us accomplish those goals? And in reality, what we're trying to do is create or change things that we want to do into things that we have to do. We want to reach certain goals. We want to make a certain number of phone calls in the day. We want to go to a certain number of networking events, but how do we transition those want tos into have tos? Because in reality, there are very few things that we have to do on a daily basis. We have to eat, we have to sleep, and we have to drink water. Those are the basics of survival. And those are really the only true have tos on a daily basis. But how do you think about these tasks that you need to do and these goals for time management? How do you think about those things that you want to do, and really focus on creating a mindset of those certain tasks, those certain activities or things that you have to do on a daily basis? It comes down to economic decision making, costs versus benefits, and realizing that those short-term benefits of doing whatever it is that's distracting you on a daily basis, or focusing on just answering emails to have the satisfaction of getting things done. But getting those things done may not ultimately get you towards your objectives. So my education background is in economics, so I have a very practical, cost versus benefit analysis that I try to do. We're all going to get sidetracked and we're all going to get distracted. But when that happens, I try to step back and really try to refocus on activities that will get me to my ultimate objectives. And the other thing is you really have to have personal buy-in on those goals and those objectives. You can't have somebody else tell you what you have to do on a daily basis, because you may say that you agree with them and you have to do it, but in reality, if you don't really believe that, you won't accomplish those goals. So just to go through a few things that have worked for me, and this is essentially trying to break larger goals up into smaller pieces. One thing I've found that's been really helpful, and I'm going to just switch screens here for a second, is I've started using what's called a Panda Planner. And it's a little small here on the screen, but essentially what this does is it breaks your schedule up into monthly, weekly, and daily tasks. So in a monthly overview, you get the calendar where these are the big, larger goals, more big picture type stuff, focusing on daily habits. And if you can see at the bottom right corner of each day, there's a little box there that has an H in it. So if you're focusing on creating a new daily habit, you just check off the box each day you completed that habit. On the side here, there's a section for notes. That you and I review these pages at least every couple days for the monthly review. At the beginning of each month, you plan your month out. So you list your 5 most important goals, why those goals are important to you, the reasons why, and then distractions to avoid. The distractions to avoid, that's a huge piece of trying to keep you focused on your ultimate objectives. And then at the end of the month, you review your month and your big wins for the month. Things you would have changed during that month, and then any insights gained. When you look at the weekly plan, again, this is something that I review on a daily basis, but the first section here is a review of the week before, the big wins from the week, and then how you'll improve moving forward. What will I do to make the week great on a personal, professional, family basis, and then your relationship. So it's not just focused on work stuff. We all seek to have, work-life balance. So this is a good way to kind of refocus and concentrate only on the work stuff. Things that I'm looking forward to, habits I'm developing, learn something new. This is big for me because I want to learn something new on a daily basis. So really trying to focus on doing activities that will expose me to new ideas and new concepts. And then projects that I'm working on, and then top goals for the week. The daily page is much more broken down. You have your schedule on the right side here. The day's priorities. Usually, this turns into a pretty big branch. There's a priority here that will branch off into a lot of different activities. Things I'm grateful for. This morning review is awesome because it really helps refocus on in terms of what motivates me and what goals I want to accomplish for the day. And then end of the day review, again, is huge for me because it allows me to really get a sense of accomplishment, even if bad things happen during the day. The end of the day review really helps me out a lot. Another huge thing for me is to build in re-energizing activities. I love going to the gym and I love being outside, so I make sure I put time in my calendar for that on a daily basis. And debriefing at the end of the day, week, and month, again, that gets back to why I've started using that planner. A lot of people are moving more towards the electronic side of things and maintaining a journal or whatever it may be, but I really like having that written plan out in front of me every day. And then something that a manager told me a long time ago: trains run better on tracks. So making sure that you have a plan and you are sticking to that plan again on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. I also have a whiteboard in my office with all my goals. So it's right in front of me whenever I'm in my office, and I can reference back to that whenever I think I'm getting sidetracked from my goals. Danger zones are a huge thing to avoid because, and even you may not necessarily be able to avoid them, but recognizing them. If there are certain things that you know are going to sap your energy and strength, but you have to do it on a daily basis, compartmentalize those activities. Recognize the fact that you're going to need to spend a certain amount of time on tasks that you don't like doing. Or if you have the ability to delegate those are the key things that you need to get rid of. Get those off your plate if you have somebody to take care of those things for you. Don't get caught up in getting things done. Again, going back to that email or checking your the latest, how many likes you've gotten on Facebook or whatever it may be for a post about finances. Just try to stay away from that kind of stuff as much as possible. Know exactly what you need to accomplish on a daily basis and learn how to say no to things, because we all are in this business to help people out. We have a natural tendency to say yes to people when they ask for help, but sometimes you have to be able to say no because again, you're keeping those ultimate objectives in mind and where you want to spend your time. Make sure to come up for air. At 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock every day, I have it in my schedule to just check on my mindset. Am I maintaining a positive mental attitude throughout the day? Make sure that you step back a little bit, take a breath, and reevaluate what's going on in the day. And this is actually something that was brought up in a meeting last week I was at with NAFA. Be where your feet are. So if you're at the office, make sure you're doing everything you can to make that time the most productive time possible. If you're at home, make sure that you are being the most productive parent, spouse, whatever it may be. Don't try to differentiate, create boundaries there as much as possible. I know, again, in today's day and age, it's very hard to do that, but trying to focus on that as much as possible. And then how to implement these ideas. first and foremost, you just need to decide a course. You won't know for sure if these goals or objectives are going to work out, but make sure you have those goals and objectives in front of you so that you can revisit them and reevaluate them. Credibility and accountability, I think, is really huge with mentors or managers, whoever it is. If you set a certain goal to achieve certain activities during the week, certain things that you want to accomplish, share those goals with somebody else so that they can hold you accountable and maintain credibility for reaching those goals. There's a thought around quitting camping and climbing. And when you, I'm not a mountaineer, but I've seen some videos or some movies on climbing Mount Everest. And there's essentially 5 base camps at Mount Everest. Now, some people will see Mount Everest, they'll see the mountain, decide it's too hard, and they'll never even attempt it. However, the people that do decide that they want to try to climb Mount Everest, nobody climbs it all in one shot. There's 5 different base camps along the way. And at those different base camps, people are typically planning the route to the next base camp, or recovering and eating and sleeping, whatever they need to do to be able to build up enough energy to get to the next level. So wherever you are, if you're quitting camping or climbing, make sure you understand what the objectives are at that particular point in time and how you're going to get to the next level. And then finally, setting SMART goals. So SMART goals are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, written, and they have a timetable. Having those goals in front of you, making sure that you're setting appropriate standards around those goals. It's one of the most important aspects of time management, and making sure that you're doing activity that will provide the best outcome in the long run. So how NAIFA can help. The 3 tenets of NAIFA are to advocate, educate, and differentiate. So attending webinars like this, I personally got involved with NAIFA initially because the annual meeting was down in Washington, D.C. And I was able to experience going up onto Capitol Hill and meeting with our legislators to talk about issues that impact our industry. So we have a lot of resources available to our members, and it really helps you differentiate yourself from the rest of the advisor community out there. Lilly is the Leadership in Life Institute. I was a graduate of Lilly back in 2014. I think it really sent my career on a totally different trajectory and really provided some valuable knowledge and confidence to make the decision to take my career to the next level. The camaraderie and mentorship that exists within NAIFA. My best friends in the industry are all NAIFA members. And that's because, I've gotten to know them through events and things like that. It's really helpful to get outside of your daily routine and, go see other advisors, talk to other advisors, ask them what they're doing on a daily basis, what's working for them, what's not working for them. Community involvement is something that I'm really passionate about, where we have an initiative here in Massachusetts at the state level to partner with some nonprofit organizations to bring financial education to underserved communities. So, take advantage of those opportunities. Other NAIFA members are involved with all sorts of different community service organizations like Kiwanis, Rotary Club, whatever it may be. So using NAIFA to really tap into those resources is vitally important. And then just overall improving our industry. being involved with NAFA, or if you're not going to get involved with NAFA, I suggest getting involved with some industry organization because it improves our industry as a whole. And providing those resources and accessing best practices and all that sort of thing can really help take your practice to the next level. And finally, in closing, this goes back to Tim Urban's presentation. This is an illustration of what a 90-year human life looks like in terms of months. So each dot on the chart here represents a month of your life over 90 years. And this was a kind of, this really shook me up a little bit to see the visualization of what a 90-year life looks like in terms of it's a very abstract idea. It's hard for people to grasp time sometimes. You know, how 90 years seems like a lot of time, but when you look at it in a visual form like this, it really kind of drives home the point that we may not necessarily have as much time as we think. So why would you wait if you want to implement some ideas, if you want to make changes in your practice, if you want to make changes in your life in general? You know, we all have plans to do that sort of thing, but other things get in the way. The idea behind Tim Urban's presentation and this visualization here is, why would you wait? So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
Well, thanks so much, Josh. Fantastic stuff. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Your time and expertise. If anybody has any questions for Josh, feel free to unmute yourselves or ask them in the chat. I was telling Josh before this started that I am definitely getting one of those Panda planners because sort of self-reflection is just exactly what I need right now.
Glad I could give you an idea to work off of, Zach. All right.
Well, if there are any questions, then thank you everybody for joining us today, and thank you, Josh, for spending some time with us. I just wanted to give a quick little plug for our annual conference, our Performance Plus Purpose conference that's happening in Orlando from September 11th to the 14th. We actually have a special offer for all of you on this webinar. If you would like to attend this conference in person, or you'd like to attend one of the sessions virtually, feel free to reach out to me at recruitment@nafa.org. That's recruitment@nafa.org. And we have a very, very special deal for you going on right now. And I can explain it if you reach out to me through email. And Josh, if you have anything else to add?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity. And if anyone has any questions that they like to take offline, my contact information was on the first slide there. So feel free to reach out. I'm always willing to help and provide any assistance where I can. So thank you, Zach. I appreciate it.
Of course. Awesome. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great week. Take care.
Thanks.